Hello everybody, Floppy Waffle 69 here, and welcome back to the channel. Hey, today guys, we are going to be featuring yet another coal ship. I'm featuring a lot of coal ships now because people are starting to allocate a lot of their resources, and I'm seeing a lot more questions on the Reddit posts and the forums about, hey, now that I've accumulated X amount of coal, what should I spend it on, or steal, or research for your points, or whatever. And I want to give you guys the most transparent reviews and advice possible. And I think one thing that not enough players take advantage of, especially free-to-play players, is that they are under the illusion that they should always go after and save up all their coal, their steel, their resources, and get the top tier ships, the tier 10s, the tier 9s, that kind of stuff. And I just think that can't be further from the truth. I think sometimes after you maybe have that one tier 8 premium ship that you've purchased and you've saved up and maybe got that one tier 9 or tier 10 ship you want, I think it's time to start looking at lower tier premium ships because there's a blast to be had in them. And especially given the fact that a lot of people, maybe if they play bronze rank, they can't use those tier 10s, those tier 9s in the bronze league. And if they just want to have a good time in general, right? So there's a lot of different reasons why you should be looking at tier 7s. Also, I think the gameplay in itself was a little bit more laid back and chilled, and not as many tryhards and assholes at lower tiers than there are at higher tiers, usually. Every now and then you would get that one or two, but we can say, safely that there's definitely more to be had at the top tier. But yes, today we are featuring the Scharnhorst 43. Now, as you know, the original Scharnhorst is one of my favorite ships in this game. I think it is one of the go-to premium ships that you should buy in the armory, or the premium store, excuse me, just because of how versatile and how good that ship is. I think there is a big misconception of how that ship is built and how it is played, but I still think you're going to yield great results in her. But now we come to the Scharnhorst 43, which is a ship that kind of caught me off guard because I believe Wargaming, did they give the ship away in an event, or could you have earned this by completing a certain amount of mission chains and you could get this ship? I'm not 100% sure on how the ship was originally introduced, but after said time went past, Wargaming decided to add the ship to the armory for coal, which I think was a fantastic addition and a decision made by Wargaming side, which they aren't really full of those, let's be honest. We can all agree on that, right? But they added the ship to the armory for coal, and only for 75,000 coal, which is actually a steal of a price. And I can say for that price alone, at tier 7, for what this ship can do, 100% worth it, guys. If you aren't familiar with what this ship and what it can do, maybe you live under a rock, maybe you're new to the game, whatever it is, this ship is a lot of fun. It is a tankier or tanky version of a battleship, battle cruiser kind of, if you want to get into more like, I don't know, historical side of things. And it's secondary focused, which is everyone's favorite thing in this game, apparently, right? Unless you're a cruiser player like me, and then you fucking hate to play against them because the automated damage mechanism is just doing damage for it, for the player, that is. But this ship is a secondary focused Scharnhorst. Now, with that being said, the original Scharnhorst can 100% spec secondaries, and it can do it fairly well. But I don't think that is how that ship is supposed to be played, in my opinion. In my opinion, I like playing my Scharnhorst more like an A-Gear or Carnot, something like that, that relies more on the main battery and is an overall battleship tanking ability, rather than getting in there in the fray and utilizing the secondaries. But that's where the Scharnhorst 43 comes in, because now we've upped our secondary dispersion base values and our DPM on our, well, not DPM, but our like reload time of our secondaries. And this ship is quite the formidable little secondary fire starting machine. Plus it gets the HE quarter penetration mechanic on the German secondaries, which is always going to be a menace, as therefore it can pen more armor effectively. And now another thing about the Scharnhorst 43 is that it has a different consumable loadout than the original Scharnhorst. The original Scharnhorst has the ability to either select the fighter consumable in the third slot or the spotting aircraft in the third slot. The Scharnhorst 43 doesn't get that. The Scharnhorst 43 only obtains the ability to slot the fighter, which is pretty much next to useless, if we're going to be honest right now. But it actually gains a fourth slot. In the fourth slot, it gains the engine boost modification, or sorry, the engine boost consumable, which is one of the reasons why I take the engine boost modification in my slot 2 upgrade, is because I want longer duration on my speed boost, which is going to allow me to benefit and utilize my ship's strengths way more frequently than not having it up. It allows me to reposition, it allows me to push, it allows me to retreat. A lot of different things because I'm gaining, what is it, 8% speed, 7% speed, which again is crucial. It makes me sit like, fuck, I wish I had this on the original Scharnhorst, but obviously you don't get that. And it allows you to position a little bit more frequently, or refrequently, and allows you to just play a wider range of the map. It allows you to get from point A to point B quicker, more efficiently, with less time. And it's why I really like the speed boost on this ship. Now, when this ship first came out, I can attest I was one of those players, and to some degree there is still an argument to be made. Is the Scharnhorst 43 overpowered? This ship is incredibly strong. Okay, it's incredibly strong because the hull is incredibly tanky. The firing angles are not terrible. You have torpedoes. You have great secondaries. This ship pretty much has it all going for it. It's like the Swiss Army knife of ships in this game. So what is this ship? Is it a battleship? Is it a cruiser? What do you really want to call it? I mean, I guess the correct term is like a battle cruiser, but it does have the battleship icon above its name, which I believe it's most in unison or follows the lines or guidelines of a battleship more so than any other class ship in the game. I do believe that. And it's just incredibly tanky and can throw off a lot of enemy battleship shells. Where a lot of battleship shells, if they shoot to the right areas, they can overmatch you. But when you're packing 350 millimeters of side belt armor, that again, when angled, can auto ricochet and theoretically have effective armor of over 400 plus, it's incredibly tanky, and it's not easy to get through either, which makes the Scharnhorst 43 even more of a menace. And that also goes in line with the Scharnhorst. The Scharnhorst shares the exact same stats in regards of the mobility, the max speed, the turning circle radius, the HP, detection, you name it. It is the same exact ship. All they have done is added a speed boost, lowered your range by a little bit, decreased your torpedo reload from like 60 something seconds to like 45, and up to the secondaries considerably. This ship is through and through a secondary brawler, and it does it very, very, very well. I mean, this is up there with the likes of the West Virginia 44, of the Prince Heinrich, just to name a couple, and I guess what the Lug Dunham or whatever the fuck that ship's called. This ship is a menace at tier 7. And I find when I play her, when I get up tier to tier 8, she does pretty damn good too. Again, when we get to that double up tier, everyone's favorite +2 -2 matchmaker, this ship does tend to struggle, and that's more so because the Scharnhorst 43 is a one-trick pony. Now let me explain what I talk about. I do believe the superior choice in regards of the Scharnhorst 43 and the Scharnhorst is the Scharnhorst, because the Scharnhorst allows more versatility with the builds, and you can build your ship differently and make it more effective, whereas the Scharnhorst 43 has one thing going for it, and that is it's a secondary brawler. So you have to play this thing up close and personal. If you are not willing to do that, or you're not allowed to do that, this ship suffers considerably, whereas the Scharnhorst, the original one, can actually do decently when playing at range by HE spamming, as it only has a 20-second reload compared to the Scharnhorst 43's 23-second reload. This is a major advantage for the Scharnhorst. Again, coupled with Adrenaline Rush and various other skills, you can get that reload down lower and lower depending on how much damage you've taken and whatnot. So that is the main thing I want to talk about with the Scharnhorst. But with the Scharnhorst 43, if you are allowed to get in close and brawl, as you're going to see in this next gameplay in the background, the Scharnhorst 43 is a menace, and it does the brawling very, very well. Again, having the threat of torpedoes allows players who know you have torpedoes to make decisions. Either, fuck, I have to hit the brakes and slam on in reverse, or I have to just full turn out and show my broadside to disengage from the torpedoes that are coming at me. These torpedoes do decent amounts of damage. They come in, again, the standard 13,700. You have 3 of them, but your torpedo DPM is considerably higher than that of Scharnhorst because your reload goes down from, 68 seconds to 45 seconds, which, again, is a nice tool to have, because when you're in those up close and tight situations brawling, it's nice because you only have to wait 45 seconds till they're up again. The problem, though, with the Scharnhorst torpedoes, and you're going to find this out, is you actually have deck-mounted torpedo launchers. A lot of German ships do, Brandenburg, Tirpitz, etc. These torpedoes are actually easier to get knocked offline and or destroyed, even though they're not really allowed to be destroyed anymore. They're just out like down for the count for longer, I think it is, with that whole new change they did this update with not being able to destroy modules permanently or armament types permanently. But yeah, because they're deck mounted, there's no protection over them. Like, for example, the Zao's torpedoes are cloaked within its hull, which are a little bit harder to knock out. Where, again, Scharnhorst is on the deck. So it's susceptible to that, to those large caliber HE and or armor piercing salvos. Going into more talking about the Scharnhorst, because I was in the middle of talking about why I think the Scharnhorst is just superior. Like, again, it's more versatile. You can build the ship different ways and still get a lot out of her, which I think the Scharnhorst 43, or actually I know the Scharnhorst 43, you can't. You have to play this thing as a secondary brawler, and you have to get up close and personal to really get the most out of the ship, because that's its bread and butter, is the secondaries. If we look at the secondaries, and again, I'm going to try to briefly talk about them. It says on Ship Tool that the Scharnhorst, the original Scharnhorst, actually has higher secondary DPM and actual hitting DPM. I mean, I don't know, guys. I think when you're firing, you have a quicker reload of 3.1 and to 6.5 on your larger calibers. I mean, I think at the end of the day, because that's the smaller calibers are the 105s and the larger calibers are the 150s. So you're actually rocking 7x2 105s and 4x1 150s, right? And 4x2 150s. It just, I think that because you're reloading faster, you're going to be getting more shells on target, and you have the improved dispersion ellipse, and you actually have increased fire chance. For your fire chance on the Scharnhorst 43 is 8 to 12% rather than the original Scharnhorst's 5 to 8%. So your fires per minute goes up considerably from 20.2 on the original Scharnhorst to 34.8, and you're landing more shells per minute at 380 rather than 346. And again, just so we're clear, you can penetrate 26 to 38 millimeters because it has that quarter penetration HE mechanic, which 105's penning 26 is awesome. These are both important thresholds. 38 is a lot of like US Royal Navy, French armor schemes decks, that kind of stuff. And then the 26 is a big number, as that is cruiser level armor that can be penetrated, because usually they're rocking around 25 for their nose and ass, that kind of stuff. So again, important thresholds to keep in mind when it comes to HE penetration. And again, you're not really losing out on the fire department now, and that goes up a lot, right? Especially the 12% on the was it the 105s? That's pretty impressive. And they're firing at what, 3.1 to 6.5? I mean, whew, not bad, guys, not bad. Again, the maximum range that you can build on the Scharnhorst 43, again, is your 9.5, which is across the board. Like the Heinrich, the original Scharnhorst, that is the max range. West Virginia 44 that you can get out of your secondaries. So you're going to have to play around that range. This thing really shines anywhere between the 12 and up close and personal ranges. I think if you're sub 12 kilometers, this ship really is a menace. But something that's not a menace on the Scharnhorst is the anti-aircraft. I mean, flat count of 4+1, your long range only going out to typical German fashion of the 5.2. Medium range is 3.5 and your short range is 2 kilometers. And your DPS maxing out at 116 with the long range, and the short is 96. Not very good, guys, right? So the one thing you have to keep in mind is if there's an enemy aircraft carrier on the enemy team, just because if you get isolated and you push too far forward, he's just going to focus you and you're going to die. At that point, you're going to be relying on either RNG or your ability to dodge with your speed boost active. Because again, CVs, if they want you dead, they will just focus you until you're dead. And this ship can't really defend itself that well unless you have a stupid aircraft carrier that just decides not to use his engine boosts and just flies in a straight line and doesn't dodge flak. So I want to talk a little bit about the armor piercing, and I think this is interesting because a lot of people don't know this, and hell, I didn't know this until making this video for you guys. The armor piercing fuse times for the ships, okay? For the original Scharnhorst, you actually have a little bit of an improved threshold on your 283 millimeter guns. These are 283 millimeter guns. You have the 3x3 turret layout. But your fuse time is 0.010 seconds, whereas the Scharnhorst 43 is 0.033 seconds. Now, what does that mean, and what does that translate to you as a player, as a captain manning the helms of the Scharnhorst? This basically means if you're commanding the Scharnhorst 43, your AP has to penetrate it's going to take longer, more armor it needs to penetrate in order for it to fuse, in order to detonate within the ship, which can be better on thicker armored targets. But for lighter armored targets, the Scharnhorst is going to be the best in regards like those cruisers or whatnot. It's going to penetrate less armor until it detonates within the ship, and it's going to detonate and get those Citadel ribbons that we're all seeking. Now, I do want to keep this in mind because a little bit of a niche here, or a caveat. I do find myself, especially when I'm fighting tier 5 cruisers, I do overpen every now and then because your shell velocity is actually pretty good. Your initial speed coming out of the muzzles is 190 meters a second, which isn't terrible given the fact you combine that with a drag coefficient of 0.283 and an impact speed of 605. It's not bad, and the shells aren't necessarily heavy by any means with 2,300. So, and again, you're just gonna find, I just find myself overpenning every now and then. These, I won't call these rail guns, but you don't need to lead that much in order to land shells effectively on target. But your dispersion is a big thing on these ships. I mean, you have 2.0 Sigma, and the vertical dispersion on the Scharnhorst 43 is just ever so slightly lower than that of the Scharnhorst. But I do find that you get the shotgun dispersion every now and then on this ship. It's not very impressive. But again, why I think when you play the original Scharnhorst, specking in the 3rd slot, the aiming system modification really helps this ship land more consistent volleys than the Scharnhorst 43. Because in the Scharnhorst 43, let's be honest, you're not taking the aiming systems mod. You're 100% taking the secondary battery modification because you want to extend those ranges out further and get your secondary battery to fire faster. And that's going to do a very good job of doing that. And I think you should do that. I think you're stupid if you don't spec the secondary battery modification. And again, that's coming from someone who did a down the line series on the Poison, where I believed that all those ships really aren't secondary brawling battleships anymore. They're actually more hybrids if you want to go that route, starting at tier 8. But anything lower than that, if you're specing full secondaries on your Bayern, on your Gneisenau, and all that kind of stuff, even in the Poison, like if you're specing full secondaries, I think you're actively trolling yourself, and you're doing yourself a detriment. Like you're being a detriment to yourself, because the ships are just so big and so easy to shoot at that getting them into those advantageous brawling positions with their not so good gun firing angles is really going to be kind of a struggle, and other ships are just going to do it better now, like the Libertad line, the Schlieffen line, right? And again, some other premium ships to insert there as well. So what am I trying to say with the Scharnhorst 43? For the price of 75,000 coal, I cannot endorse this ship enough and recommend this ship to be picked up. If you already have the ship, then you know the ship's strong, you know the ship's a menace. But for all my newer players out there that happen to stumble across my channel, for all players that are sitting on, a lot of coal from this anniversary event, and especially as we go forward towards Christmas, I would take a second look at this one. Have your certain ship you want in mind, like your Napoli or your Pommern or whatever it is that you're eyeing. Obtain that ship, and then with your leftover coal, you might have enough. I mean, 75,000 isn't a whole lot of coal you need to accumulate in order to get the Scharnhorst 43. But if you have 75,000 left over, by all means, yes, I think you should pick up this ship. And that's coming from a cruiser main. This ship is strong, and it is 100% capable. And again, at the end of the day, guys, it is fun. And it is an excellent crew trainer for all your German ships. If you want to bring down your Schlieffen commander, if you want to train up your Brandenburg commanders, if you want to train up some of your tech line German battleships, if you want to transfer this guy over to any other German battleships that you're getting, like if you get a Mecklenburg or whatever, this is a great crew training, great premium ship that I cannot recommend enough that you need to pick up. Okay, my heart is still with the Scharnhorst, but again, that's just because I like having a more versatile battleship rather than a one-trick pony niche battleship, which is the Scharnhorst. If you love secondaries and you love brawling, this is the ship for you guys. This is a fantastic premium ship, and only for 75,000 coal, guys. That is pretty much a steal, practically a steal, right? But yeah, guys, that's pretty much the video. I just wanted to highlight and showcase some other alternatives. I'm going to reiterate, a lot of people are only accumulating and saving for those big premium ships, or those special ships for coal and all that stuff, like their Pommerns, their Aegers, U4501s, whatever it is that you guys are looking at in the coal, in the armory for tier 10s, for tier 9s, but I definitely think you should take a second look at this ship because it is well worth the price. And again, at the end of the day, it's fun. You're going to see yourself going back to this ship time and time again, having a blast. And again, for ranked seasons, if you ever want to participate in ranked or operations for that, for that matter, this is a fantastic ship to do both in. And sometimes those are locked, like Bronze League is locked at tier 7. Operations, not so anymore. They changed that, but again, for that alone, and again for randoms, fantastic ship, guys. Fantastic ship. And at the end of the day, you still have 283 millimeter guns, which can still bring the pain on cruisers because you still are a battle cruiser, and cruisers are your main prey, and the guns are very capable, guys. Very, very capable. So anyways, that is the video for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one and take my words with meaning, and hopefully you made it through the entire video and don't just watch 6 minutes of it and then think that I'm an idiot and I'm high as a kite. But anyways, guys, stay tuned for more videos on the channel. I will be trickling out content here and there, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a good day and peace out.